Good evening, everybody. All right, I guess it's time for me to hit the gavel then. All right, I'm gonna call the Dumfries Town Council meeting of Wednesday, November the 6th to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Peterson. Present. Councilmember Pete. Okay. Councilmember Fields.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Present. Present.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear him. Chair Pro Tem Miles. Present. Vice Mayor Nickerson. Here. Mayor Woods.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna ask Pastor Reverend Dr. Crystal Woodard of the Dumfries United Methodist Church to come and open us up in prayer today, to give the invocation.
Good evening, everyone. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we gather today as a community realizing, God, that there are a variety of emotions concerning our future, or the future of this country, Lord. But we come asking you, God, to give us permission to feel whatever we feel, but also the ability to remain united as one in this community and our shared purpose, which is to serve others. God, in this moment, please help us to find strength in one another and wisdom in the decisions before us. May we approach this meeting and each new task with renewed determination, fostering understanding and cooperation among us all. I pray, Lord, that you would grant us the humility to listen to one another, the patience to work through our differences, and the clarity to seek solutions that uplift this community. God, please guide our steps as we continue to build a community that is inclusive, just, and compassionate. And God, may we place our work in your hands and trust that together we can create a future that reflects the best of who we are. And God, we will forever give your name the glory, honor, and praise. Amen.
Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, please be seated. Next on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt the agenda.
No, we could second it. But I think we have, we're gonna remove one of the items off the agenda. All right, Madam Town Manager, which one?
Mayor Wood, we need to remove item number A as they could not make the presentation.
Okay, there we go.
Yes, sir.
Boys. Okay. So would you amend it to remove A? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended, removing item 8A.
Okay, and I'll second it. All right, any discussion on the motion and the amendment? That's you. Seeing none, call for the question, please.
Councilmember Peterson. Aye. Councilmember Fields.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Miles. Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Wood.
Yes.
That motion's passed.
Okay, next on our agenda is the approval of the October 16th minute meetings.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from October 16th.
Second.
All right, it's been motion and second. Seeing any discussion? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call for the question.
Councilmember Peterson. Aye. Councilmember Fields.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Miles.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Wood.
Yes.
That motion's passed.
All right, next on the agenda were citizen comments. Was there any citizens signed up to speak today?
We had one citizen call in to speak today, Maria Martin.
Okay.
That's it. Is that me?
Yes, ma'am. You have, please make sure you state your name, address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
All right, my name is Maria Martin, live in Triangle, Virginia, and I have been a neighbor of Dumfries for about 32 years. 30 years. I am bringing something to the town hall today, and this is or the meeting today, and it's about a nonprofit organization that I created last August 8 with the purpose of creating community gardens in order to help the mental health pandemic that is going on in our communities. And I was inspired to do something for our community in 2021. I was campaigning, and right here in Grand Park Road, I saw a young man, all between 14 and 17 years old. The young man was drunk. And it just broke my heart. And I said, we need to do something about it. In that time, in that moment, I thought in a community center in the building that Dumfries had purchased, which used to be the fire department, and didn't receive enough response. And I didn't also pursue, I just sent a big email and only one person answered, and I tried to make an appointment, it didn't happen. So later on this year, I continue to think that there must be something that we can do with our youth. 80% of people under 18 years old, they suffer depression, expressing themselves that they feel lonely, that nobody cares about them, and they are isolated. So I believe, before the pandemic, there is a statistics that 1 out of 2 Americans, adult Americans, they suffer depression. So with the pandemic, that has been even increased, but mostly in our young people. And I don't know if it's a matter of age, but at this point in my life, I think that we need to do something about next generation. And I would like to think that, yes, we can do something like this, a community garden in a couple of years. And I believe that we can start in January, because this is very bad. 5 children die every week with drugs, with the opioids. And it's because they are hurting, or simply they are so involved in a little screen that make them believe that that is their whole world, and it's not.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Madam Clerk, is there anyone else signed up to speak?
No one else signed up to speak.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, pass it down to the clerk so she can scan it. All right. Was anyone else here that didn't get a chance to sign in? Okay.
Good evening, Town Council, Town Manager, Madam Attorney. First, I want to say my name is Russell Young. I am 18317 Summit Point. I just want to say thank you all for the job in which you guys have done. Thank you for your job in which you've done for this community, that you continue to doing a great work. Was just elected to be a town council, and I appreciate it very much to join the team. And again, I thank you guys for the work in which you've done. I really, truly appreciate everything which you've done for my family and I since we've been here, and that's been since 2021. For the job in which you guys commit to, and like I said, especially to this community, I thank you guys for everything. Thank you.
Madam Clerk. All right, All right. Next is our mayor and council comments. All right, Councilman Fields, did you have anything tonight?
Good evening, everyone. I'm not going to say much, but just thank you. Just reelected for a third term here in Dumfries and being on party council. I love it. I thank you for your support. My fellow council members, thank you as well for your support. Look forward to serving you for another 4 years. Thank you.
Councilwoman Peterson?
I just want to say congratulations to Brian, Sean, and Russell. And that's all. Thank you.
Councilman Brown?
Just to piggyback off Councilwoman Katrina, Brian, Sean, Russell, good job on the campaign. I know you guys will continue to do what you've been doing. So just forge ahead. Thank you.
Chair Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to thank all the voters who came out yesterday and exercised their civic duty. That's very important. It's what makes our democracy what it is. So I want to thank you for taking the time out, whether you came out yesterday or any of the time during early voting. I want to thank you for coming out. Additionally, would like to thank anyone who put their hat in the ring to run for office. It's not an easy feat to decide that you're going to dedicate your life to public service. So anyone who put their hat in the ring, who ran a race, we want to thank you for that as well. And I also want to congratulate our winners. Congratulations to my colleagues who are going to be joining Ms. Russell Young and my colleagues who will continue, which are Councilman Pete and Councilman Fields. So I'm looking forward to working with y'all for the next 4 years and doing great things in Dumfries and, really representing the interests of the folks who live here. Additionally, I'm not going to sit here and act like yesterday didn't happen and that was the only thing that happened on the election front. And I know people are feeling all kinds of anxiety. There are people that are nervous and don't know what's going to happen. I do want to lead in some words of comfort. Good pastor, I'm not trying to get in your way. I don't do the preaching thing, but a scripture that brings me peace comes from 2 Timothy, and it's even hanging up in my office. It reminds us that God does not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and of a sound mind. And so if you are afraid, know where that's coming from and try to get as far away from it as possible. Additionally, my parents taught us growing up that hate fights the hardest when it's on its deathbed. So there's work to be done. We will continue to do the work and we will come out of this better than we have been. So, take peace, take comfort, and know that we're okay. We're going to be okay. With that, I yield back.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I want to congratulate our new council member and also congratulate our returning council members. I know that as we were in election season, I talked to a lot of people about the decisions that they were confronted with when it came time to vote. And a reoccurring theme I heard was really decisions about which direction to go in with voting. And one of the things that I found myself reminding people of often is that unless you're the candidate, it's always tough to find someone who's going to give you exactly what you're looking for and someone who's going to represent exactly what you want them to represent. We're not going to find that person unless it's you yourself who's up there. And even as I'm up here myself, sometimes I battle within my own head about which direction I want to go in with certain decisions that I made. So the advice that I give people is when it's time to make that decision, you really have to just kind of look at when you're trying to decide which direction you want to go in, you base your decision on what person or what party most closely aligns with what's most important to you and who represents the values that are most closely or what are most important to what matters to the people who are most important to you and the values that are most important to you. And that's really the way you have to make a decision. But if you don't make a decision and you don't cast a vote, then you're allowing someone else to make decisions for you. And then once that happens, now you have no say in anything. And oftentimes that happens, and then we have regret because now you don't have a say in what goes on and decisions are being made for you. And then it's too late because when you miss the opportunity to cast a vote, you can't go back and change it. So whether we like how things went or whether we're celebrating how things went, good for you, congratulations, or I'm sorry for you, but we'll always have an opportunity to redo it because that's the best thing about this country is the democracy. So if you don't like it, you don't just complain, you contribute to the solution. You can change your little corner of the world. You can make a difference in your little corner. So continue to fight, continue to do what's right, and just work on your little corner. And if everybody works on their little part of the quilt, then we'll have a nice big quilt to work on, and it'll all be happy and we'll all get along and everything will be great. And I know that sounds a little bit optimistic, but I really do believe that if we all work together, then we'll be fine. Thank you. I yield.
First, I want to start out by saying the Boys and Girls Club had lost one of their beacons, Adrian McShane, the director of their sports and recreation over. He's been a member and worked for the Boys and Girls Club for over, been a kid at the Boys and Girls Club for over 20 plus years, and he passed away suddenly. So we send our condolences to him and his family. They're doing a memorial service or a repast at the Dell City Boys and Girls Club on Friday morning. I'll try to send the details if I get copies of that for the Boys and Girls Club. So we definitely wanted to say that and give respects. I also want to lend my comments and acknowledge yesterday's election. My heartfelt congratulations to our returning council members, Councilman Fields, Councilman Pete, to our new council member-elect, Mr. Russell Young. We thank you. As Chair Pro Tem said, running for office takes tremendous courage. It takes commitment. It takes a sense of duty to our community. And so we applaud everyone who put themselves forward. We say thank you because serving isn't as easy as it looks. Sometimes we make it look easy, but it is one of those essential things that we need to do to make a difference. And so I commend every one of you for your dedication. Yesterday, it also marked an important moment for our nation as we also cast our vote in a presidential election. And elections, as we see, can be emotional roller coasters for weeks, months, sometimes even longer, stirring up a lot of hope, stirring up questions and concerns about our country's future. Yet, no matter where we stand politically, it's essential to remember that here we're all Americans. Our democracy is founded on the principle that every voice matters. And while elections may bring a little bit of division, maybe a lot of division at times, they are ultimately a testament to our freedom and our resilience. I think together we continue to shape our community and our future. No matter what the outcome is, I think here in Dumfries, we need to continue to unite around our own shared values and our hopes for a better tomorrow. I think we have an incredible opportunity to build here in this community on the things that unite us. Our shared love for this town and our dedication to making Dumfries a better place for everyone. Dumfries is strengthened by our compassion, our unity, and our shared commitment to support and uplift one another. No matter what changes may come at a national level, let us continue to prioritize our community here on a local level, ensuring that Dumfries remains a place where everybody has a voice and everybody can thrive. Last month, I had on a grant from the National Endowment of the Arts, I was able to participate in a Mayor's Institute of City Design at the University of Florida. This was a big deal for us because it gave us access to some valuable resources and some expert consultants on the latest in city and urban design. November, this month that we're in now, is also a month with a bunch of occasions. We celebrate a bunch of reflections and unity. You know, one that's always been near and dear to my heart was Military Appreciation Month. We celebrate the military family. It's a time set aside to honor their sacrifices for the brave men and women in uniform and their families. To every military family here in Dumfries and beyond, we salute you. We recognize and we thank you for the strength and resilience you display every day. Your support underpins the courage and service, and we are deeply grateful for your service. We also celebrate Veteran Small Business Month, the SBA does. And we, for those interested in learning more, just go to the SBA website. We also have a very significant birthday that we celebrate this month. Everybody who served as a United States Marine, November 10th. Every Marine celebrates a birthday. And so happy birthday to all the Marines who celebrate. This year marks 249 years of service. And then the following day, Marines still celebrate with everybody else coming in. We celebrate Veterans Day on November the 11th. And so we honor all of those who served in the armed forces. So to all our veterans who served here on this dais and in our community and abroad, thank you for your services, your sacrifice, and your commitments to protecting our freedoms. And lastly, in the spirit of Thanksgiving and National Gratitude Month, I want to continue to just express our appreciation and many blessings. Take this time, this season, to just continue to connect with your family, your neighbors, our Dumfries community. Continue to carry out the spirit of gratitude with us as we continue to work together to keep our town a place of kindness, a place of unity, and a place of progress. Oh, before we conclude, I want to highlight a very special event that's taking place tomorrow. I want to invite everybody out to. The grand opening of the Rose Gaming Resort is happening at 1 p.m. This is more than just a ribbon cutting. It's a monumental transformation for our town. What once was a landfill can now become a landmark. Right. And so it's going to symbolize a lot of resilience, vision, and commitment to growth. And so we invite you all to come out to bear witness to the beginning of a new chapter in history. It's going to become a cornerstone. So thank you. Hope I can see some of you tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving to each one of you, and may your month be filled with gratitude and warmth. Next on our agenda is a presentation from Historic Dumfries.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Council and everyone present. My name is Patrick Thompson. I'm president of Historic Dumfries, Virginia, Incorporated. I think we have a PowerPoint. Is PowerPoint going up? Okay. It should be a PowerPoint that's been distributed as well, so hopefully it'll be going up on the screen. But as we're waiting for that to go up, Historic Dumfries, Virginia is an independent nonprofit. Are we still waiting on the? Okay. We're an independent nonprofit organization that works to preserve and promote the history of Dumfries. And with that, we have been charged by the town to manage the Weems Botts Museum, as well as another building on the Merchant Park property and the park itself. So that was governed by a franchise agreement. And just to give a few comments, I guess, on the Weems Botts House. The Weems Botts House, if anyone doesn't know, is the house that was used both by Parson Weems, who is most known for helping sort of create the idea of what the American politician should be, the honesty and values that our politicians should represent. And it was also the home used by Benjamin Botts, who was the defense attorney for Aaron Burr during what was, for a long time, the highest profile trial of a federal officer for trying to overturn part of the federal government. So the Weems Botts House is proof that, as they say, the past is never truly past. But there are lessons to be learned probably even today from the people who lived there and the work that they did about what America can be, should be, and the struggles we've had to get to this point, to be the historic company we should be. We see the purpose of our organization is to preserve, protect, and restore the structures and sites of historical and architectural interest within the town, and promote the overall history of Dumfries, Virginia. Now I'm going to introduce, this is Abby Alm. She is our site manager, and she can talk about the sort of programming we've been doing over the past year.
Hello. So winding down from this summer's events, we've turned our focus towards our public availability. We are now open year-round for walk-in tours Friday through Sunday, and we're continuing to offer free field trips to Prince William County schools, as well as our free monthly children's programs to families in the community. We've been organizing seasonal historical adult craft workshops, and we've just wrapped up another successful season of our Halloween walking tours. And throughout the past year, we've also been organizing our behind-the-scenes collections and digitizing our photos, newspapers, and artifacts. And a few months ago, we began cataloging our newly digitized collections on a collections management software, which is now available for public access. So anyone can go online and view our current online collections. And thanks to our very hardworking volunteers, new items are added every week. So we're at about 300 right now. But we're getting new stuff all the time. So we.
This is one of our board members.
Hi, I'm Christy Barkalow, and I am the volunteer education specialist for HDBI, and I'm also a board member at large. We had a beautiful presentation for you with pictures and all. It was a PowerPoint, but hopefully you guys are able to see the printout of it. As part, I do a lot with education. And as Abby mentioned, we have Children's Day, which is free for kids in our area. They sign up through Eventbrite. And then we've been offering school field trips for Prince William County Schools for free. And we did a lot to participate with Charter Day, including inviting Dumfries Elementary and Forest Park High School to sing. We had Scottish dancers, we had colonial dancers, and hopefully some of you were lucky enough to see the horses that came in and brought the charter the day of Charter Day. As Abby said, we also participated in the Prince William Resolves. So we had a very busy 2 weeks or 3 weeks because we had two big celebrations. And I am thoroughly enjoying being a part of the board and doing the education part. I taught at Grand Park Middle School for 32 years. So I'm very, very familiar with our community, and I love Dumfries. I love the history of Dumfries. I really want to see some improvements and some more involvement. So we've started a new program, and it's the Junior Historian Program for our Prince William County field trips and kids who come. So I'm going to make our mayor an honorary junior historian. Congratulations.
Well, we're proud.
Thank you. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about was our workshops. Ladies and gentlemen, but ladies, if you want to make a beautiful holiday wreath, we made beautiful wreaths last year, and it was a great fun. Ours is significantly cheaper than the one at Mount Vernon, but it looks exactly the same. We've also done workshops for Ukrainian Easter eggs. We've had teas. We've done holiday, 4th of July wreaths. We've done a lot at the museum to help involve our whole community and get everyone involved. Many of our activities are free, some are at a small cost. But also what we do to help our community, we have Potomac High School kids who come and volunteer every other week. They were there today. They do a wonderful job. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Potomac High School because those kids are amazing. They rake, they vacuum, they clean windows, whatever we ask.
All right. There's one I think I want to comment on. We're talking about the use of the park. As part of our franchise agreement that we manage Merchant Park, we have been asked to be in charge of park rentals. I just want to clarify sort of what park rentals mean. Merchant Park is open to the public throughout the day from morning till nighttime, unless there's an event there for which the park has to be, has been reserved. So the rental is not to use the park. We want the town to use the park as much as possible. But if someone wants to do something at the park that would interfere with the town being able to use the park freely, then that's when we ask for some kind of rental. So if someone wants to, for instance, reserve the picnic pavilion so that they could have sole use of that picnic pavilion and other people couldn't use it for, a lunch on a nice day, well, that's why we might ask for a rental. Or if you go to see the presentation, there was a wedding there this summer. Shortly after the Prince William Resolves event, a family rented out the park for a weekend so they could have a wedding. And it was a beautiful event. But that meant that between the day before the event and the day of the event, they're setting up tents, chairs. And so that meant the general public couldn't use the park on those days. And there was also additional wear and tear to the park and cleanup afterwards. So those are sort of things for which we, charge a rental fee because it prevents the overall use of the park by the public. So we're trying to balance these sort of private uses as well as the public use to make sure the park be used as much as possible in as many ways as possible by as many people as possible, without also doing too much damage to the park for having, tents up year round and things like that would cause damage to the facilities. So then we get to the issue of damage to the facilities and wear and tear on the facilities. Part of our agreement with the town is that every year we need to present our yearly profit and losses to the town. And we're also supposed to provide a 2-year running look at the capital improvements and other maintenance costs to expect. And so we've done this in the past with a larger presentation, but I want to highlight some of the key ones today. Now, and I have in the presentation the language from the franchise agreement that lays out that some of the upkeep of the park and facilities are the responsibility of the town and some are the responsibility of Historic Dumfries. Now, in many times we as Historic Dumfries have been doing some of these things on our own. For instance, while the town's been taking care of the trees, lawn mowing, we've been putting in, flower plantings, taking care of the garden beds, things like that, painting the gazebo before the Charter Day event, things like that, that rather than go through the town's process, we've just been using donated materials and volunteer labor to do some of these smaller projects. But there's some big projects we're looking at for which we need to bring to the town's attention. We have been working for many years to try to get the historic house more weather tight so that it's a old parts of 18th century wooden building for which water damage is a serious threat. So several years ago, we replaced the flashing around the chimneys because there's water coming in around the chimneys. Also, several years ago, we repaired and or replaced some of the windows because they were no longer airtight. But we're still finding that there is water coming in the area near the chimney, both onto the porch as well as into sort of the space around the chimney. And we're still finding that there is a lot of heating and cool, unusually high heating and cooling expenses. We've taken a look at the insulation in the building. Parts of it were replaced in 2009. Other parts may date back to the initial renovation of the building in the 1970s. So we're looking at in the next few years, probably in the next 12 months, replacing or adding to the insulation underneath the house, as well as in some of the attic spaces to try to make it a more weather-tight space that's going to be both better for the materials inside, cheaper to cool, more comfortable with people inside, but also safer for material, for the artifacts inside. Also, in terms of safety, we discovered that the electrometer for the building is inside a closet inside the historic house. That is, we've learned very much against code and a threat to the building. So one of our urgent repairs will be to try to get the electrometer outside the building, or look at that being, potentially a sizable cost. And finally, one thing that we're looking at with making sure the building is airtight, weathertight, we're also want to make sure that the building is as accessible as possible to people. Now, part of what we're doing with that is what Abby mentioned, which is trying to digitize our collection so you don't have to go into our upper room at the annex or into some of the spaces that are hard to access to see what we have to offer to the public. But also with that, we want to make sure that the building, as much as possible, is accessible to people who may have mobility issues or other difficulties accessing the materials. So we've been looking at ways that we can make the Queen's Botts house more accessible without disrupting the historic fabric of the home. That may include adding a ramp to get access to the porch on the, I guess, was the north side of the west side. I always get turned around about the cardinal direction there, but on the west side of the building, as well as adding some handrails and other, and improving the pathways so that people can have better access to at least the ground floor areas. Because of the narrowness of the stairs, I don't think we could ever be fully ADA accessible for the upper areas of the house, but we want to make sure that there's at least ways people can access those materials, even if they can't get to them themselves safely. And so that, I believe, last page of the.
Adding railing.
Yeah, adding railing. So we're now available for any questions the town may have about the work we've been doing or what we've been spending money on over the past several years and what we anticipate spending money on in the next few years.
Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. I just wanted full transparency. I did have an opportunity to have tea. It was a lovely tea, great goodies with your board member and also our executive director. So I was very happy to hear about the great things that you guys have in place for Historic Dumfries, and also I'm excited about rebuilding a relationship between the town and Historic Dumfries, because we are invested in you guys' success. We want to help you grow. We want to help make sure we're meeting obligations on our end, so that, because it is a representation of Dumfries. So we want to make sure that we're working together hand in hand to make the goal come to life. But I am very happy to hear about everything you did. Thank you for mentioning the community-based instruction with the Potomac High School, because why that's key to me is that's also a key part of these kids' instruction and getting them ready for the job force and giving them opportunities at building their resume so that once they graduate, they're ready to enter in that force way. But yeah, I'm just really looking forward to, we have a great opportunity here to firm up that relationship and provide more resources to Historic Dumfries. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys pretty close in the future.
Councilman Fields.
Yes, great presentation. I always like to hear updates about the building and, what's going on with the building. What I'd like to ask is about the tourists and how frequent were they coming from for this distance? And especially, the comparison of ours to other museums close by in the area. I always like to hear where people come from to see them.
I give tours Fridays through Sundays, 10 to 4 on the hour. It's not as frequent because it is hard to step away from my other work in order to give the tours because I'm the only full-time employee. But they're all guided tours. They take about an hour to go through the house. So
where are people coming from? Do we got tours or buses that come from out of state, or is it mostly in-state? That's what I want to hear.
It's generally in-state. I get some people from Dumfries and then some from the surrounding areas, Alexandria, Springfield, Stafford. We don't do buses really. The house is very small. We can only fit maybe 6 to 8 people in it at a time. So we don't get large tour groups like that.
Okay.
I can answer that too. So for school field trips, we have invited Prince William County Schools as a free field trip. Dumfries Elementary is next door, so that's really free for them. But we split them up. So we'll have like stations where the kids are just 10 kids in a group so that we can, get them through everything. But what's exciting is our workshops. We had a workshop just recently, Counting Cross Stitch and tea. And we had 3 students from UVA who came to our workshop because they saw it on Eventbrite and they thought it would be cool. One was a young man, and he was the only one that broke a needle.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And with digitizing our collections, we're hoping to build our public, the public facing element of what we have to offer so people could know these are the sort of things we could see, whether it's genealogical materials, past news materials, past government materials, the sort of research materials that are available for people to see, so they can see this is what they can come for besides doing the tours if they have specific research projects. So building sort of a public face with the research materials we have available and the other artifacts we have available.
Speaking of artifacts, we did with the Prince William County, with Grand Park Middle School, since it's a math science program, they asked us to make it more math science. And so fortunately, Abby is very familiar with archaeology, and we did a little test hole, and actually Councilman Brown helped us to move the tent that day to protect us. We were short a few hands. So we're really trying to do not only history, but math and science as part of our field trips.
Councilman Brown.
So just a quick question. You mentioned Merchant Park is open without reservation. How would citizens know that the park is reserved on a day? Are you posting anything at the park?
We are not right now, no.
So this the community need to call or contact your office?
I suppose, although I could add a calendar to our website and then place it on there because people do generally call us for rentals, so.
So I'm just trying to make sure there's no conflict. Someone's going to have the park that day and someone get up in the morning and go see there's no one there. They may start cooking.
We have a reserve sign.
We do have a reserve sign for like when when the wedding was happening, there were signs saying that this area has been reserved for preparation for the wedding. Now, for some smaller reservations, we don't have. We have sign for the pavilions, but we can definitely make it more visible. We could find ways to either put in a community bulletin board, like maybe what a reservation calendar, things like that. We could look at ways to make it more visible to the public, both online and physically present.
And just want to say thank you for your work over there. That's right down the street from my home. So I walk my dog down that way every day.
Looking better too.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I'm sorry that I missed T. My understanding is that there was some miscommunication with the delivery of the invitation. So I hope we were able to get that corrected so that I do not miss the next one. The agreement that we have between the town and the museum, when was the last time that agreement was reviewed and we all sat down to take a look at it?
I think it was a 2002 revision to the 1998 franchise agreement. Okay. Fortunately, I tried to print it today, my printer jammed, so I don't have the full franchise agreement in front of me, but I believe that it was a
2003.
2003?
2003.
40 years.
Okay. Okay.
38.
So we have to 2038 is the current agreement, unless,
To 2038. Okay. I was asking because I was wondering if it was time to probably take a look at that and revisit it and see what updates are necessary to it. And as far as the work that you all were talking about that's necessary, do you have estimates on that work yet? Have you looked at it?
I have some estimates specifically for the electrical meter and then also some plumbing in our annex office space. But we have not gotten estimates for the rest of it.
Well, for the work because you said that there was some work that was prioritized as like emergency needing, and that was
the electrical first, and then we're looking at, now that we're sort of past the Halloween season, which is a very busy season for us, then we're looking at getting bids for research the best practices for insulating, first for dealing with water damage, potential water damage in the building, and then doing insulation in that building. So right now, we're trying to find both what the best practices are for those, as well as who are the people who can do that kind of work in a historic space. We're looking at who's worked with our historic homes and things like that, so we make sure that we have the work being done properly for a building of this period.
In the presentation, there were pictures of the insulation, and you would have seen that it's very, very poorly insulated now. We're talking about the historic house, just a small historic house. Last year, we spent $3,000 just on heating that little tiny house. Because of the insulation.
So my understanding is if those areas are not properly insulated and heated and cooled and what have you, then it could affect the items that are being preserved in there, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Potentially. And so we're keeping less in that building than we otherwise might because it is not as weather tight as we would like it to be. So when we're dealing with the windows, we move some many items out to the annex and to other
Yeah.
places because you want to make sure we're keeping things properly preserved. And we'd like to make a space where we could have more historic materials there as well.
We also cannot have any kind of visiting exhibits because we'd have to have the proper heating and air conditioning.
Understood. Thank you.
I'm gonna start in the vein of the budget and all of the improvements you need. Now, we used to have annual meetings with you and discussions with the Council on Historic Dumfries, and I think we got to reestablish that. But what you also, to the Vice Mayor's point, need to put together is a list of everything that needs to be done over there and put together a capital improvement projects type plan. And then put together a budget with it based on what needs to be done and then begin to prioritize it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then when you bring your budget, you also bring this capital improvement plan with this capital improvement budget so that as we go into budget season, January, February, March, like we're able to have educated discussions and be able to see in this budget. So not only your profit and loss, but you bring together these two type of documents so that we could begin to look at how we can continue to revitalize and we don't get behind on a lot of these projects. So we have to, there's planning, right? Because we do zero-based budgeting. So we have to be able to look at this and see what the resources.
How do you see that fitting with the franchise agreement? Because with the franchise agreement, us telling you what needs to happen at the house seems to be a conflict.
No, I mean, you can put it with,
We
you
want to
can,
make sure that we're all.
yeah, just put it with your profit and loss statement. Just have a budget written up and that'll just be the simple.
Yeah.
All right. And then two, to Councilman Fields asked about tours and stuff. We used to have a great relationship over there with Visit Virginia, the Tourism Association of Virginia, Prince William County Tourism, and we used to be featured on their websites. In the past, we've had the Discovery Channel and them come to the town, and of course, you know, you just had Halloween. We were famous for ghost stories, right? And so we were that house was known for paranormal activity, right? Not saying that's what we want to be known for, but are those relationships, or is that still anything that we have with the Virginia tourism, Prince William County tourism? Are you all working with them to be that visitor center to break it in? Because to Councilman Fields' point, they're used to send people and people used to come up based on that.
I can say we've been working very closely with Prince William Historical. The Prince William Results event, they did a lot of the organizing with us for that. So that was something that we worked very closely with them on. And there've been a variety of other events we've been working closely with them as well. But we have an ongoing relationship with them, and we're trying to also with other local museums and historical organizations.
And as you brought up, we've always had that balance of how much paranormal, do we want to say we're a ghost house or do we want to be the history of Dumfries? Right now, we're saying in October, we do ghost tours if we're haunted. The rest of the year, we like to talk about the history.
Okay. And then when there are events, what do y'all do with, as far as parking? Do you have possibly like a MOU or a parking agreement with the church next door, or like, what do we do there?
We usually have people park at Dumfries Elementary School. We put in requests with them, and then we have the street parking along Duke Street and Cameron Street.
Okay, so you do have we have something in writing with Dumfries Elementary, or you just yes?
We go through their web portal to request parking.
All right. Well, thank y'all for your presentation. We look forward to the next time. Hopefully, maybe by January, we get you in here, maybe the second meeting, and you all bring us some good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is a highly anticipated presentation by Prince William County on Fraley Boulevard, Route 1, the widening project. Oh, we got the director here today. Mr. Rick is in the building. Welcome, sir.
Mayor Wood, how you doing? Good to see you tonight. My name is Rick Canizales. I am the Director of Transportation for Prince William County. I really do appreciate the time that the council here has given us today to update you on the Route 1 Fraley project. I know you're probably starting seeing some things happen here, some businesses and some things vacate as we're getting ready to start moving utilities, but we'll talk through that today. Which button do I press here? I'm gonna guess this one. I think I'll just do it for you. Oh, okay, great. Basic map, this is the location of the project. I think you guys know it well, and we'll talk a little bit about the history and how we got to where we're at with Prince William County doing this project in a little bit. But you see that the project does go from where the 234 interchange improvements are coming in from the developer over at Potomac Shores down to Brady's Hills, where the county had done their actual first widening of Route 1 to 6-lane projects back in 2002 when we started the bond for that project. So we've been working on Route 1 since back in 2002 when the first bond referendum called it out. We've been working with VDOT on certain parts of it, and we've been working on our own on certain parts of it. What you see, and we'll talk a little bit about it here while we have the map up at the northern section. In the northern section, VDOT completed that project from the bridge out to Mary's Way, where the church is there. The county, completed the project from Mary's Way out to Featherstone, which complemented the project that we did a few years back that went from Featherstone down to Cardinal Drive, actually to Neabsco Creek or Neabsco Mills, and then VDOT did that little section in the bridge between Neabsco Mills Road and Cardinal Neabsco Drive. Obviously, we are in that last section that we need between Cardinal Drive that we're seeking for monies now, between Cardinal Drive and 234. And what we see here is one of the last sections coming through to hook everything up and making sure that we have 6 lanes through Prince William County. Obviously, the last section, but not with as much volume, is a section between the entrance of Quantico there at Joplin Road out to the Stafford County line. That to us is a last priority. But we're very excited that we're getting to do the project here in Dumfries and making things move forward. Next slide, please. I think you guys know the purpose of the project. I'm not telling you anything new here. We're trying to widen the road, get traffic through Route 1. This is a major corridor parallel to I-95, one of the highest volume road in Virginia. So this is the relief valve for that. And I think you've seen that happen to your town many times when you've seen 95 clogged up during the summer, both northbound and southbound. We do have through Prince William County some of the most congested parts of the 95 corridor through Virginia, especially the section north and 123, and some of the area south here as we're starting to get narrowed down 95 in this area. The express lanes have done a great job, but again, Route 1, it continues to be a parallel route and a relief route for the road when necessary. With that said, we did get a couple different sources of funding for this. This was initially put together by the MVTA, the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority, which gave the initial funds to start the design of this project back in 2015. Actually, it was 2014. It was their first program that escalated out to 2015. We were very excited that the project was moving forward. VDOT was doing the project. We thought this is going to get good. VDOT did the north part. We're doing the middle part. They're doing the south part. We're working here. Well, obviously, it wasn't working out well with VDOT here in Dumfries, and as NVTA saw the design move forward, they saw that an opportunity to be able to fund this project fully and give us the amount of money that you see up there. You're talking now you're starting to talk like real money here at getting a project that has $128 million on it. So they wanted to put that project forward, but they did not want to continue to have VDOT do it. They didn't see the efficiency in VDOT and how they were doing it initially, and they were looking for someone to do it. Town of Dumfries, NVTA, and VDOT asked the county to move forth and see if we can implement the project for you, as we had history in implementing projects, like I mentioned earlier to you, up and down the Route 1 corridor. We agreed to do it under an agreement that was set back in, I believe, 2019 with you. And it cleared out he's put out the exact terms of how we were doing this, which is the county was in charge of the project. It was a state. It was a federal, because we did get smart scale money on it. So it's a federal and state, not only a regional now, but a federal and state project where all federal guidelines and federal rules of road building are applied now. So it's become it became a little more difficult adding those federal funds, that we needed that extra $50 million in order to complete the project. We're now going through a federal process that we are working through currently for you now. Next slide, please. A little bit of project schedule here. Obviously, we did receive the plans back after we did the agreement. We received the plans. We saw what VDOT was doing. We had a transition meeting, and then we decided that there was enough changes needed to be made from what VDOT had done to what we were going to do here, that we needed to have another public meeting. We were in the middle of COVID, so we decided to have this meeting virtually, but we did have another virtual information meeting for the town. We then initiated right away, and that's where we're at now. Now, we'll talk a little bit about this in a second, but it is 112 properties that we're going through. It's 98 private properties that we're dealing with. And even to us, and even with the other projects that we've done up in the northern sections of Route 1, this is the most right away we've ever had to take for a project. With that said, that right-of-way phase is going to last a little bit here, and we're trying to get to the utilities. As you see there, we're already expected to get going with utilities at the beginning of next year. So you will start seeing some construction happening. It won't be construction of the road. It'll be the movement and relocation of those utilities, and that's going to happen for a year or two. And Wynum, our project manager, Wynum Nguyen, is here to talk to you about the phasing, and he'll go through how we're going to get that done for you. But what you need to know is that you'll start seeing some movement out there starting next year, that know that that's just relocation of utilities at this point in time. We'll continue to do the relocation utilities and right-of-way process until we get to the advertisement, which we expect to have done by either late 26 or early 27. Now, when we say advertisement, that means we're advertising the project. We're going through the procurement process. And this is a big deal. Again, it's a federal project. So every time we do a phase, we got to the right-of-way phase. We ask for permission to go to design. We have to ask the federal government permission to go to right of way. We have to ask the government and VDOT permission to go to construction bid and permission to actually award and go to construction. Each one of those permission takes about 2 to 3 months. So right there, they're asking for 4 permissions. At 2 to 3 months, we're looking at a year just in me asking for permissions to go to the next phase. That's why you see that timeline be a little long, and why I mentioned to you earlier that we're going through a federal process with this road. And that makes a big difference. With that said, we're looking to get that construction complete by March 2031. Obviously, it's a big deal here. It's obviously a lot of what we call maintenance of traffic, or MOT, that we're going to have to deal with. And the construction period is going to last a little bit of time. And that's why Wynum's here to explain to you how we plan to do that in a phased approach. Community engagement and communication. What you see up there is the public meetings we had, and making sure that we do talk to the public, and the public was informed of the project. Through the right-of-way, we have been doing right-of-way negotiations, and we meeting on site with people. We're meeting in person with people. I have met personally with individuals. I have met personally with ACTS. We were dealing with ACTS, and they asked to talk directly to me. I met with them, and we've cut a deal on what we're doing there. So things are going well in what we're doing, but it's just a long time. Again, 98 properties, as a takes quite a bit. Again, we had another virtual meeting with some of the property owners and their council. When they are represented, we have our council there, and we make sure that we're there. I know that our council is going to be briefing your council here in the next week. They have a meeting set up so they can talk about where we're at and what we're doing here as well. We also, again, coordinated the meeting. I'm not going to read through the list, but you have it there in the presentation. You have it up on your screen. But some of the development that's been going on through the town, we have to make sure that we're talking to these small businesses, that we're making sure that we're accommodating them, that we're making sure we have access available to them through the design process, through the construction process, through the right-of-way and utility relocation process, so they make sure they continue to do business like they have done in the past. And with the road improvements, we're hoping even better. With that said, though, obviously there are some total takes that we're doing around town. You've seen some of those already with the diner and the car wash there in the corner. We actually got asked to clear that up a little bit. I hope we cleared it up enough there for you so you could have your good ribbon cutting tomorrow, and what's been happening up at the casino. We've been going up and down the town, making sure that whatever right away we're taking and whatever is now in our hands is made sure that it's cleaned up, made look nice, and not and not leave you looking like it's an abandoned something or other. But we are trying to get, the thing again, we're in a federal project here. Everything has to go in place. So what we're trying to do now is we're trying to come up with some local dollars to be able to start demolishing some of the buildings that we total take. Instead of leaving them up and waiting till we get to that construction process, which we all know boarded up buildings and looking like that does not look nice. So we're trying to, in a way, we're trying to move that process a little different and from the federal process with some local dollars and looking to see how we can do that ahead of time for you. And we'll continue to look at that as we continue to acquire property. We do communicate with the public through all of our websites. It is communicated through the VDOT website, through your website, through our website. They're aware of what's going on, what the milestones are, where we're at on the project. And then finally, the last thing I'll talk about is a little bit of the right-of-way acquisition here. Like I mentioned earlier, it's 112 affected properties. 98 of them are private properties, and you see kind of where we are there in figuring out things. 51 offers are refused. That doesn't mean that it's a done deal. Obviously, we have power of eminent domain, and we have been using it. We have actually completed all our takes. So all the properties that are needed for this project have been acquired through eminent domain. But what we like to do is we like to make sure we close out a project by making sure we've acquired the property and negotiated it out. We don't like leaving things pending. The county has never, or in my 8 years that I've been director, we have never gone to court, and we have taken hundreds of properties. We do good with the community. We make sure we take care of the small business. We make sure that we take care of our residents. We know they're the backbone to our community. We know they're the backbone to your community and what you're trying to do here. So we understand, and we often are very, we do a lot more negotiating and better negotiating, I believe, than the state would do, which comes in here not understanding the backbone of the community, the businesses, the residents, and having a little bit of empathy, I like to call it. We come in from the county in a perspective where we do empathize with those residents and those business owners, knowing that we're coming in and forcing a take on them to be able to do a public road project. So we make sure that they know that up front. We make sure that we continue to work with them. Our consultants work with them. Our appraisers work with them. Our staff, our right-of-way staff works with them. In your packet or in your presentation, that is our head of our right-of-way division at the county, and Mr. Scott Hatton. If you have any questions regarding this project or the right-of-way being taken, I would, please recommend you call him or communicate with him. With that said, the status of the VDOT reviews, you see them kind of where we're at. The status of the town reviews, you see where we're at, and we're still also under review at the county. We don't have final plans yet, but we're getting very close. We're understanding, but again, we have to get through this right-of-way and utility relocation process before we can start that road. With that said, though, the way that we're going to do this, again, I mentioned, is we're going to do it through phases, and this is where Mr. Ingwin's going to take over for me and guide you through the phases of construction that we're planning to go through.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Good evening, council. Good evening, mayor. Good evening, town staff. So during construction, we are going to implement several strategies to try to minimize impacts during construction. We understand this is going to have a significant impact on the existing corridor, but we're trying to do as much as we can to minimize impacts. So first off, we are implementing contract special provisions that will be developed during our negotiations with each individual property owner. So that includes talking about their concerns, listening and trying to accommodate their concerns for working hours, for access. I know in our meetings, I've also met personally with many of the property owners. I know that they are concerned about access. I know that a lot of people have cars coming in and out regularly, and they're concerned during construction. And we will have contract special provisions that will make sure that the contractor maintains access and will never block access during construction, and that way these businesses can remain in business and operate as much as normally as possible during construction. So that covers the second line as well. The lane closures that will happen at off-peak hours we'll try to alert the public of that, including portable message signs and coordination with property owners for any lane closures that occur during construction. And I want to mention that this is going to be during off-peak hours only. So during peak hours, during rush hours, there will not be lane closures. So you will have at minimum the same number of lanes as existing for traffic to go through. And we have construction broken into 5 large phases to reduce impacts of traffic and businesses, and reduce congestion, and I'll go over these in the next slide. So next slide. So phase 1 of construction will be widening northbound Fraley Boulevard to the west side of the road, and this will occur south of Canal Road. So as you see in purple, it'll be on the west side of the existing roadway. And then phase 2, which is shown in blue, will shift the northbound traffic to the proposed widening that was already completed towards the west side, and this will allow construction to occur on the east side. So the portion that was just built in phase 1 will be shifting northbound traffic onto that, so that the portion that is existing can be worked on for phase 2. Next slide. So for phase 3, we'll be widening the northbound Fraley Boulevard on the west side north of Canal Road. And we'll also be completing the widening north of Graham Park Road. And this is shown in orange. And then in phase 4, shown in green, will be construction of the Quantico Gateway intersection and the Canal Road Route 1 intersection. So again, that's in green. And next slide. So for the last phase, we're going to shift the southbound traffic, the Main Street traffic today, onto the widened Route 1. And we'll also be completing the project by installing a cul-de-sac at Main Street and Quantico Gateway, and finalizing the raised median construction. We've been in communication with Director of Public Works, Mr. James Nichols, regarding a project that the town will be handling in order to also accommodate the change in direction, the restriping that will occur once Main Street becomes a cul-de-sac at Quantico Gateway. There will be some restriping occurring. There will be also a bit of signal modification, and we're working with Mr. Nichols in that project in order to have it lined up and constructed during phase 4, phase 5, so that, it can be a seamless shift between phases. Next slide, I think, is the end. So that's my contact information. I am the design project manager on this project, and you can feel free to reach me at email, phone, or you can also write us.
Yeah. Thank you, Wyndham. Just to kind of conclude this, just know we do have a couple consultants on this right now. It was a big job, so we usually give our, a job as a whole thing, but this time we kind of split it up. So we have JMT as our design consultants, and they're doing the design work, and then we have RDA, who is doing the right-of-way work and making sure that we get all the right-of-way. So those are our 2 consultants that we have on this project right now, and that you should know where we're at with. With that, we're here to answer any questions you may have. I know you may have a couple here, so either between Wyndham and I, we'll get to them.
I'll start with Councilman Brown.
So I just have thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
So the right-of-way acquisitions, you said there was 98 offers?
Yes, sir. That we have, those are 98 private properties that we're dealing with. So we have sent 98 separate appraisals and offers to each one of those individual properties.
And what is best estimate on schedule, getting all the right-of-ways that you need?
We are done, sir. Like I mentioned in the presentation, we have acquired all right-of-way. What I mentioned to you, though, is that we've acquired about half of it right now under COT, or under certificate of take. So we've acquired it with power of eminent domain. We have not negotiated out the property with the property owner yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Here in the town of Dumfries, most of our neighborhoods are cul-de-sac neighborhoods. And what I mean by that is once you turn off of Route 1 to get into the neighborhoods, there is one way in and one way out from Route 1. So once you turn off of Route 1 to get into the neighborhoods, you have to then come back to Route 1 to come out of the neighborhoods. So I'm asking on behalf of the residents here in the town of Dumfries that when we get to the phase of construction where we begin blocking the roads, that you all take a lot of effort to communicate with the residents so that we are all aware what these schedules look like, because Route 1 is our only way in and out of our neighborhoods. It would be courteous to let us know what's going on, because we have no other ways in and out of our neighborhoods other than to come to Route 1.
My fair point well taken. We'll take that back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Fields.
The existing businesses that are open, I don't want you to get you to name them, but how many do we have?
How many businesses do we have out on?
Businesses that need to move, that are still open and operating, that will have to move in the near future?
I believe if my memory serves me right, and I should probably just go back to the presentation, but I believe it's 18 total take of businesses that we're going to have to relocate or move out.
Within the town of Dumfries?
Within the town of Dumfries. So out of 98, I believe it's,
That are still open?
no, 12 are the thing. Oh yeah, it's 12, I'm sorry, 12 total acquisitions, so 12.
That are still operating open now?
No, I think some of them are now closed. Some of them are partial open. Some of them were businesses that had multiple businesses within the building, and some of them have closed and some of them have remained open. We have, allowed them to remain open. You obviously know that the car wash and the diner were left. So we're at a pace where about a third of them are not open, while 2/3 remain open.
Fair enough.
And again, we're hoping that this road, again, brings you some revitalization and brings you some redevelopment to this area. As we're clearing some of this stuff out, some of these stuff, what you see up, north to what we've done, and you see as I've gone and expanded the roads, new businesses have come in, or the shopping centers have decided to redevelop, or there's, apartments being built behind areas to make them more like a town center feel. We're hoping that obviously, we're closing one side of the road by doing this project and having you have your main street back and having a full Route 1 on the opposite side. And with that, we're hoping that brings you not only redevelopment on the principal side of Route 1, it brings you that redevelopment and back to your main street and back to your route. So we're thinking that this once obviously, and my old boss used to say all the time, to make a nice omelet, you got to crack some eggs.
Right.
We're gonna have to crack some eggs here for the next few years, but hopefully once it's done, it's gonna be a beautiful omelet for you.
And I believe that, and I support that, but believe it or not, many council members still get blamed for what it took place years ago in Triangle. But it's Triangle. We get blamed for it because a lot of people don't know the boundaries of what's the town of Dumfries and not. We still getting blamed for causing the business to shut down. We get blamed for that. People don't understand that there's something called eminent domain. There's something called, what's the other word you use when you take over the properties?
Certificates of take.
Yes, that's the first time I heard that terminology, certificates of take. All they look at is Dumfries shutting down business. What are we doing about it? Well, I'm happy to hear that you assist and offer, of course, the funds, whatever the landowner may want or may need, or however y'all negotiate that, but also helping maybe finding placement other places.
We are, sir. Councilman Fields, we try to relocate anybody who wants to relocate. So if you're in a business in there and we get you in there, we relocate anybody that wants to be relocated. Some people want to just sell their business and say we're out and, off to the sunset to the beaches of Florida. But
he said it.
But some of the business want to stay around, and they want to find an area even around Dumfries. So we try to find them something as close to as what they had, and something that helps them regain their business back. And we always work with them. Our consultants as well as our staff always work to relocate businesses.
And I'm quite sure I'm talking for you on this one. Just a simple, yes, sir, that's correct, or it's not correct. You find a lot of business operations that are not the landowners.
That's correct.
Thanks, Rick, for this update. Couple questions on the project. First of all, a part of it is not a part of the project. I was hoping to hear a little bit about was on the 234 Gateway, the Potomac Shores Parkway extension. Do you have an update? I mean, I know that's on the county side of.
Right, it is on the county side, but it is a developer project. So we have no control over really. The proffers, what they did in that development allowed for the developer to come in and build a certain amount of homes in there. And what we did in the proffers is we established volume thresholds. So at certain points going into Potomac Shores, once you pass a certain threshold of volume, you had to get that improvement done over at 234. They have now past that threshold. And that's why you start seeing work out there. And actually the county is doing the eminent domain for the developer in order for them to get the work done. So we have just done, I think, the last piece about a month ago that they needed to complete, the work that they needed to go through the shopping center there with the Food Lion that goes up into the parking lot area. We just finished that up for them so they can kind of continue to make those connections and finish up their work. Now, the proffers only made it so they had to stop that work, or they had to stop building additional homes until they got the project fully approved and bonded. So the construction of the project is on them. We only get it so that they're fully approved and bonded. Now, as you know, it's a multi-million-dollar project, tens and tens of millions of dollars. To bond that kind of project is a lot of money. No one wants to be sitting on bonds, bonding a project, no matter how many houses they're building. So we're hoping, and as you see action out there, that they're getting this done as quick as possible so they can get back to adding the additional homes that they want to build back there.
Yeah, I thought the billboard was the problem. I just saw the billboard come down, so.
Yeah, no, they're ready to roll here. Like I said, I think the board did the last certificate of take for them at our last board meeting. I put it through.
On those phases, is there phase 1, 2, 3, 5? Does each phase have its own timeline or estimated time for it take each how long it takes?
I don't think we have one laid out right now. So we are, and this is with maintenance of traffic, TMP. This is our suggested plan in coordination with the designers and all that. I believe when we get to construction, the contractor may choose to do something different.
They can. So what we do here is our designers are designing a way to make the maintenance of traffic work correctly and through the phases. This is what we'll turn in for bid. If a contractor has a better idea or has a different method to do it, that's still going to phase it out and have the same result that we're trying to have, back to making sure that the businesses have access, that the residents have access to their streets, that everything is going well. As long as we agree with them, they could change it. Most of the time they don't. Most of the time they pick up a plan, they see how we want to do it, and that's most of the time, unless they find an efficiency that's going to help them better bid the project, that's when they take something like that on. As of timing, obviously, some of the phases that have higher construction, time that will have higher construction timelines. Some of them will take 10 months. Some others where we're just striping at the end and doing some work are going to take 3, 4, 5 months, but total time of the project is still going to be somewhere between 2.5 to 3 years.
Yeah. Probably the bridge is probably going to take the longest.
The bridge is going to take a little bit, and that's one phase of it. And again, we got to widen that bridge, make sure that we meet all specs, and make sure that we get the road, the MOT right for that shift.
Now, one of our priorities in the council's strategic plan is beautification. At the table is one of your consultants, a landscape architecture that's going to help.
They are not. We can look for that for you if you like, but what you need to know is that you can do that on your main street, and we can we can help you out with that and kind of change orders. When you're talking about actual Route 1. If you want to do beautification there, we're going to have to go through VDOT, and we're going to have to get a VDOT permit, and someone's going to have to let VDOT know who's going to maintain that beautification, because obviously VDOT does not maintain beautification in medians. We at the county, the way we deal with it is we usually have an agreement with VDOT. If a developer wants to do it, then we have an agreement with VDOT as a third party, and then we have that agreement attached to the permit that the county gets. I suggest, your county attorney, I'm not sure how she would like to do it, but, you can always, if the county wants to do, if the town wants to do an agreement with the county and the county wants to put the permit into VDOT, I'm not sure if it's something like that or if it's something that the town could do directly with VDOT and make sure that you guys have the maintenance covered for whatever landscaping you may want or need.
All right. Second. Okay. Question I wanted to ask you on the demos. How soon do you think that, because I see some of the properties, and it took a while. I think we had to really shake the bushes to get somebody over here to do some,
Actually, it was very easy. Mr. James just called us and we let him know that we were already working on it and we already had a contractor coming down, that the county was going to take care of it. So
it just grown wild.
It had been wild and we had not noticed it until it got brought to our attention. But I think Mr. Nichols brought it to our attention and we were able to work quickly with him to make sure that got cleared. We're working the same with other properties up and down Route 1. And if you see another one that you feel is something's happening there, we can take care of that too, as soon as we own it or as soon as we have property rights behind it. We are going to be doing, just so you know, we are going to be doing some work, and probably some of the first demolitions you'll see is some of the buildings over by some of the billboards, because some of those billboards will have to be relocated, and they will be relocated to another piece of the property where maybe a building is right now or some trees are right now. So that's some of the first demo you'll start seeing, is to make sure that we're able to relocate those billboards appropriately.
Okay, let's hold this thought. I need to take a short recess and then we'll come back. So let's take a quick reset. All right, welcome back. Thank y'all for allowing us that stretch break. We are about health and wellness around here. And sometimes we sit down and we get a little stiff and we got to get up and take a stretch break. So, all right, we'll go back to the demos and how the demos are going to work, or if you're going to start, because like we was talking about the car wash, the diner has been vacant for a while, now the 7-Eleven, and I know you're coming down. So I think we left off on that question.
First demos you should see coming down are some of the businesses around the billboards that you have out there. There's a couple billboards that you have within the town that are going to not be removed. They're going to be relocated. They have been working with the town staff to make sure that that's a possibility out there. And so we may have to remove some trees or maybe a building to be able to do that over. Do you remember the properties, Manderfield property and the Barnes property? Those are the two properties that we're going to be working on. We are looking, like I mentioned during the presentation, for some local dollars. It's going to need local dollars to be able to do those demos early because the federal process does not allow me to do that early with their money. I have to wait till construction to do demolition through a federal process. So right now I'm looking for some local dollars that I can get to make sure that we can do some of that demo early with some of our own crews. And that's once I see how much we have or how much we have available, it'll determine how we do it and in what priority we do it in.
Well, I guess that brings me to the budget question. Do we currently have a budget to know how much we spent down on what we have?
Oh yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we have a $178 million budget. I can't tell you what we spent down on, but we're not even close to even 100 right now. We're doing the design. I think we're probably in about 10 million in on design, including the VDOT money that got spent on the design, because we have to include that money as well. VDOT did spend some money on the design that they gave us to follow through with. And then I couldn't tell you how much we spent on right away yet, but it's again, most of those appraisals, we're probably talking somewhere in the 20 million, $30 million range out of 178 million.
And that includes property acquisition.
That's mostly property acquisition.
You said most. Okay. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I just wanted to go back to my comment about the care and concern for the residents.
Yes, ma'am.
As a resident, I recognize that I'm going to have moments where I'm going to try and get out of my neighborhood and I'm going to be disgruntled about it.
Yes, ma'am.
But what I want to say to the residents in recognizing that we're going to have those disgruntled moments, that there will be pain before pleasure.
There is.
Like you said about you have to break a couple of eggs to get a good omelet. We're going to have some growing pains, but in the end, it will be worth it. And to Councilman Fields' point, this was yesterday. We dealt with, to your point, that we were costed almost about the displeasure over the businesses that were on Route 1 that were moved for the widening project that were not bought back because of the ignorance around the process and how it all works. And
Yes, ma'am.
The expectations of what's going to happen versus what actually happens, because people don't understand, they don't know. And when they don't know, they come up with their own visions of how things work. So I appreciate you being here and explaining the process and putting your information out there so that if people have questions that they can ask. And I will make notes of your information, and please know I will direct people to you directly. I will give out your name, number, and email addresses and tell them this is who you call.
That's why we gave you the information in this presentation. Please let them know. If it's about right away, send them to my right away agent, which I believe is on like page 7. And if not, in the last page, it's Wyndham's information here. He's our project manager. If they need to talk to our consultants, he'll get them through that. They need to talk to me. At the end of the day, he'll get them through that. But yes, please use the information we've given you to give it to your constituents, to give us a call about what we're doing out there on Route 1. And this is going to be the first of, and we just talked with Mr. Nichols, hopefully the first of many presentations. I'm going to be here in your town for the next 6 years, So I hope that I can continue to come in, let you know what we're doing, how we're doing it, and listen to what you've been hearing from your constituents to make sure that we're doing it appropriately and we're continuing to do the project as you and VDOT and the state expects it.
So I would like for you all to come in routinely to provide us with periodic updates.
Yes, ma'am.
So that our constituents are kept well aware of what's going on. I think that if you come in routinely and give the updates, then that catches them before they have to ask the questions, because by the time they're asking the questions, they've already reached a point of agitation. This project has been yearned for a long time. I am not happy with how long it's going to take. I get it, but I'm not happy about it because we've wanted it for a long time. Now that it's here, it's going to take a very long time to get to completion.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not happy about it, but I get it.
Neither am I.
So come back periodically, I would say regularly rather than periodically, and provide the updates to get in front of the questions and agitation. That would be much appreciated.
Sure, and as the project progresses, the degree of agitation will be different. Obviously, right now, we're not affecting much, right? We're just acquiring right away. Once we start moving utilities, we'll start seeing construction around some entrances. We'll start being more agitating. I think we need to come in and talk then. Once we start actually doing construction or the construction bidding, that's going to be a 3-year process that we should probably be here on a bi-monthly basis, or, to let you guys know what's going on, what our next phase is, when the next move is. But I think that we'll take it like you say, and we'll come in here and talk to you periodically. But I think that throughout the project, there's going to be bigger pain points than others, and we'll be here more often in those times.
Absolutely. Was bi-monthly a commitment?
But bi-monthly will be a commitment at construction.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Fields.
Hope I don't get in the hot water for this one, but you say you're looking for local money for the demolition.
Yes, sir.
That's already in the scope of work for later down the road. So let's just say we do provide that money. Will that money come back to us when that phase starts?
No, sir. That's why I'm saying that I'm looking for our local money. I'm not trying to impose into the town unless we really have to. But we're looking for local money to be able to do that, because you cannot get reimbursed on this. I've been doing this for many years, sir. And the federal government does not reimburse you for any work you do ahead of their authorization of that work.
So this is basically just to help us keep it looking better until that phase.
That's what we're trying to do. So I'm not sure how much money I'm going to be able to get for it. And that's why I'm saying that at a point in time, I'll have to come back and talk prioritization of what you guys want to do.
But if it doesn't happen, the building or structure stays in place as is until you get to it.
Until construction.
Right. Okay.
All right, thank you for your very detailed and thorough presentation.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you more. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is our presentation for our legislative agenda items. Madam Town Manager, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Wood and Town Council. As requested at our last Town Council meeting, I worked collaboratively with you all as well as our consultant to draft a proposed legislative agenda based on the direction provided at our last council meeting. Enclosed in your packet, you'll find a fully proposed legislative agenda. Tonight, I'll provide an outline of the Town Council's proposed 2025 legislative agenda, which includes our representatives, our legislative requests, the process, timeline, and next steps. Before we delve into the agenda, I would like to remind the town of our mission statement: to transform Dumfries into an inviting, diverse, inclusive community for our residents and our visitors. It is important that we remind ourselves of the mission statement, as our legislative agenda is an extension of this mission and was drafted in alignment with the town's mission and in alignment with our 2023 adopted strategic plan. So first, we want to start with our local elected officials who have policies at the local levels and the town of Dumfries. Then we're going to move on to our Dumfries representatives at the state level, such as Delegate as well as Senator. Moving forward, from the federal level, we have Senator Mark Warner, Senator Tim Kaine, Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger. Moving on into our legislative requests. First, we have a few code changes that we are proposing. So we have 4 code changes that are outlined above. These are outlines in no particular order, so they're not in the order hierarchy. Item A is requesting to tax code reform for the Rosies, as well as the Rose Gaming Resort. Rosie in the Rose provides significant revenues for the town of Dumfries, supporting essential services and keeping property taxes low. Current revenue sharing sends half of these funds to another municipality, limiting Dumfries' ability to invest in infrastructure and public safety. Our request will be to amend revenue sharing with the General Assembly to secure Dumfries' financial stability and community services. The second item, which you have already reviewed and approved and it's been sent forward, is the town charter changes amendments, which includes Section 2, clarifying the town's powers as defined by state law, updating council election procedures, vacancy management, and the chair pro tem position. Section 4, expanding on the roles of town manager, town attorney, and the clerk. Section 5, adding recreation and civic engagement as a required service, as well as Section 9, defining ordinances and limits and penalties. That currently is being drafted in progress by Senator McPike's office. Moving on to item C is recognition of the town of Dumfries Police Department as a primary law enforcement agency. This request is to establish the Dumfries Police Department as a primary agency within the town limits, reducing duplicated efforts with Prince William County Police Department. The benefits would include improved efficiency, streamlined decision-making, and enhanced safety through consolidated responsibilities and clear accountability. Lastly, for proposed legislation is opposition to skill games. The town would like to oppose to skill games to protect regulated gaming venues like the Rose Gaming Resort. The rationale behind this is skill games undermine the economic benefits of regulated gaming by diverting revenue from monitored tax resources essential for community services, infrastructure, and public safety. Moving forward are our budget requests. The first funding request would be for Quantico Creek restoration. We are currently asking for $2 million to restore Quantico Creek, addressing pollution, sediment buildup, and erosion to improve water quality and reduce flood risk. The project aligns with Virginia water quality goals, enhancing environmental health, resilience, and community recreation. This request may qualify for federal community project funding. Moving forward to our next funding request, which is funding for underground and the power lines on Main Street in United States Route 1. We requesting funding to bury the power lines, enhancing resilience and safety by reducing outages from storms and other disruptions, improve reliability to support economic stability, public safety, building a stronger and more resilient community in Dumfries. And that request would be on the state and federal level. Moving forward, we are also requesting for a mobile command center, requesting $300,000 for a mobile command center to enhance emergency response, communication, and public safety. Functions as a mobile headquarters for coordinating during disasters, major incidents, large events, supporting real-time monitoring and resource management. It provides a versatile base for community outreach and can serve as a backup headquarters in emergencies, reinforcing Dumfries' resilience and support for nearby Marine Corps Base in Quantico. So now we will go over our policy positions. So the town also supports general policy positions outlined by VML to include support in maintaining local land use control, local control regarding tax policies, local excise taxes related to vaping and cannabis, to name a few. The comprehensive list is enclosed in your legislative agenda packet. Next, we will look at the processes and timelines. So with the 2025 General Assembly session, the General Assembly meets annually, beginning the second Wednesday of January for 60 days in the even numbered years, and for 30 days in the odd numbered years, with an option to extend annual sessions for a maximum of 30 days. This year is an odd numbered year, so the session will be 30 days, also referred to as a short. The previous 2024 budget, 2024 was a budget year, So this year, we will begin preparing for the amendments for the biennial budget in the future. The governor may call a special session when it's deemed necessary or advisable and must do so when petitioned by 2/3 of the members of both houses. And then they have another session called a reconvened session. A reconvened session is held on the sixth Wednesday after adjournment for each regular or special session for the purpose of considering governor's recommendations and vetoes. Now we're going to move on to the federal level. Depending upon the outcomes of state and state level elections, and the town will be strategic in regards to our advocacy for the town's legislative requests at the federal level. The outcomes of the election may also have an impact on our approach. After the town council considers an approval, the town manager will distribute this agenda to our representatives, meet with the representatives to discuss town's legislative requests, priorities, and policy positions. I will also brief the town council regarding outcomes. The town manager and town attorney will keep the town council abreast of requests as they move forward through the General Assembly in early 2025. I will prepare the federal process. The 2024 presidential and senatorial and congressional election will have information on our approach for 2025 and beyond. I went through this rather quickly. Y'all have a copy of the fully draft legislative agenda in y'all packet. I will try to answer any questions that y'all have, but what I wanted to do is make sure that I have gotten the process out of the way, make sure that y'all understand some of the priorities that we have had as the administration, and that I've taken the task to consider what council has also submitted as part of the legislative priorities. All I need if at the end of this is yay or nay to move forward to the next step.
Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Town Manager, I just wanted to say, you did present this draft to us last week. I want to say you did an outstanding job. You took what was a relatively loose conversation between us and really turned it into a product that we could be found of that has substance, that got to the heart of what we were saying, because there were about 1 million conversations going on at once. So I'm very pleased with the output of what it is. And if you could remind me, you said that the timeline on the federal level, could you kind of talk a little bit about that more if you had that? If I know it might shift left or right, but just a general idea of how long.
So I don't have the exact timeline on the federal level. I am soliciting the lobbyists for the town, which hopefully will begin in January, but I don't have that complete dated timeline on the federal level at this moment, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you. No, I'm sorry. I did want to ask, so when this the session comes into place, I know that the lobbyists will be on board to advocate for us on that level. There is a key, I did want to, throw it out there, because the charter is such a key part of this legislation. I know we talked about having a staff member go down and be present for General Assembly to deal with the charter. I would like to have the attorney down there because she was with us through the whole process. Does that in some way interfere with the work of the lobbyists, or would that interfere with the attorney's work? Madam Attorney, would that be? I'm sorry.
I think it just depends on what's happening at the time. So if the amendments are before a committee and there are questions to be asked, answered relative to like the systems or processes currently in place relative to maybe the legality of some of the things that we're proposing, I think unless the lobbyist is an attorney, it may be better coming from an attorney. In terms of the interference, because it's a very short session, I think it's probably good to have multiple people if possible, simply because during that time frame, I will have court. I might have some other priorities here at the office that won't allow me to be present at a committee meeting. And that's when things often move very quickly. So I think probably working in tandem would be the best way to go about it, but making sure, if possible, having an attorney available to address those questions that might have legal implications on what we're trying to do.
Okay, I'll say, and also, is that something that we need to ensure is in the resolution when that comes before?
I don't, the specific resolution can address a number of things. I think you should designate who you want to have available to speak for the town if possible, so it avoids confusion and mixed messages. Or whether you do it with all of this, with that same resolution, just becomes a matter of your preference.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I want to start by echoing Pro Tem's sentiment on the great work that went into putting this together. To her point, this was a pretty loose conversation, and you managed to capture it and put it together. My feedback when you sent this to us for review in the email, the question that I asked was whether or not the town attorney had an opportunity to vet this information for legal compliance. And forgive me if I misquote you, but the town attorney's response was that it had been vetted for legal compliance and it was excellent work. Did I quote you correctly, ma'am?
Almost verbatim.
Oh, almost verbatim. So the sentiment is that this was great work for this to be your first attempt at legislative work, ma'am. So thank you very much for the great effort you put into this. I particularly like how when you put this together to help remind us of the direction that this is all coming from and going to, I like how you tied it to our strategic priorities. That also helps put it in perspective for the residents so that they can see that what we're doing and where we're going with all of these agenda items, how it all ties very seamlessly into all the work that we put into identifying our strategic priorities so that it is all working in conjunction with each other. I also would like to identify in the resolution the town attorney as the staff member of choice to be a part of the process of advocating for these agenda items, these legislative agenda items, when the time comes down in Richmond. The question that I do have is, I want to understand in language here where there are 3 different requests for funding. 2 of the requests have dollar amounts and 1 doesn't. The one that doesn't is the funding for the power lines. Is there a reason that we don't have a number there? Is it because we don't know, or how did we come up with the number for the other items is the first part of my question. The second question is, since we're going to have Route 1 being worked on, are we going to ask for that somehow in conjunction with that work being done, since the roads will be torn up at that time, so that we can kind of all get that done around the same time? Or can we be that specific with that request?
At this time, we cannot be that specific with the request because we do not know what the financial implications are at this moment.
Okay.
We have not sought estimates for that because it is a very large undertaking. What we're looking for is any federal or state funding that will align with it. And as the roads are open, we're going to ask them to bury the power lines with that funding. So the other items, we were able to look at projects that we have at Quantico Creek, come up with estimates that we had solidified in the past, and we were able to get an estimate for the mobile command center at a very quick, within those last 2 weeks that we were doing this process. So we will, if the council approves these as a priority, we will start moving forward to identify some of the fund, how much this cost us, or how much we are seeking in the future. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilman Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Town Manager, we had a pretty lively discussion, and I didn't see anything new here other than the things that you actually put in from the town perspective. Did everyone get a chance to input?
So I didn't receive any emails separately from council. I've received a few questions, and the other items are from administration, sir.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that I'm seeing what.
You are correct.
Other pieces about the lobbyist contract, and I know we're talking about sending staff down to speak on our behalf. Just want to make sure that there's no conflict with that contract and who we send down.
No, sir.
Okay.
There won't be any conflict.
Okay, Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, echo my sentiments of council. Well done with the work. Questions, just want a follow-up question. That I had the same question to Vice Mayor. How did you come up with the dollar amount for the ask for Quantico Creek? Because only 2 million.
Yes, so
Is that gonna complete the project?
it will not complete the project. We asked for $2 million based on the phases that we are currently working on. So we asked for $2 million, which we would believe is reasonable for a reasonable ask for this time.
Okay. We had got 3 million last time, so I was just checking to see.
If you would like that, y'all would like to ask for 3 million, we can go for 3 million.
Well, I don't know. I wanted to know how, if it's, that would it cost for that next phase of Quantico Creek, then I think it's a good ask. Another ask, I know we took out, and I asked you to take this one out, but I wanted to make sure I just brought it back and I tell the council the part was that we want to take a position on opposing the casino in Tyson's Corner. Right, yeah, I know we forgot. So I didn't know where we was because how is that gonna impact? We don't really know how it's gonna impact our income or our revenue, or if it create more competition in Virginia. So there was a legislator that asked me about it. It was like, do you guys have a position? And I say, I don't know, I'll bring the conversation. Cause that's a big piece of legislation that's gonna be on the docket this year. And they wanted to know, they really wanted to know how we felt about it. Because they're trying to figure out if they're gonna support a new casino coming to Tyson's and how it's gonna impact us. Madam Manager, how do you see something like that impacting us if we let it come in? It's hard to.
I'm sorry, son. I would have to review it a
Okay,
little bit
yeah.
more before I could provide that opinion publicly.
Chair Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In my personal opinion, I really don't think that they would be our competition. I think we have two different markets and two different, even Tyson's is not that far, but it's not right around the corner for them to be our direct competition. I don't think we're going to be competing for the same audiences. So I don't have a position of, I don't think there's anything that would indicate that we need to strongly oppose it at this time or oppose it at all because I don't see anything.
Vice Mayor?
What I would say about that is, I don't have a lot of information on that. I spoke to a local delegate about that. And I did not receive any information as to whether or not it was something that they were supporting or working on. So if it's something that's being talked about here locally, I think that we need to be better educated on it before we make any decisions, especially as a council. I think that before any of us make an opinion or state an opinion out loud, we would definitely want to do our due diligence. And if we were going to form an opinion as a body, we want to make sure that we have that we're making an educated decision and forming an educated opinion as a body.
Councilman Fields?
Ditto what everybody else, Vice Mayor said. I'm not gonna say anything else.
Okay. All right. Councilman Burns, yes?
So I don't know the impact to what we have with the roads here, but I think the evaluation should be best interest of the town. So if there's impact, negative impact that's gonna be coming to the town, if we find that out, we should definitely take a position. I don't know what that is, so I can't say we should or not. But I think that's gonna be the driving factor here, regardless of what's happening down in Richmond.
Councilwoman Peterson?
I think I ditto the same thing. I feel like Tyson's is a whole different direction from us, so I don't think it'll affect us.
Okay. So it sounds like we need a little more information to see how it's gonna impact us so that we know what to say or what not to say on that.
Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Burns?
So, and how soon do we need to have this in? Do we need to put this in the legislative agenda right now?
What
moving with?
I don't know if it's on, and maybe the attorney might know. Are they introducing legislation for that this year? Do we know?
No, I've done no research on that, Mr. Mayor, so I can't answer
Okay.
that question. I'm sorry.
So what I don't want
I
to,
think they might be because a couple of the delegates have brought up conversations, so they may be introducing it this year.
so,
Yeah. Yesterday.
so
Yeah, for
what I
this.
don't want to do is put a lot of effort in this if it's not going to yield any information that we can use. So I'm willing to support it if it's going to impact us. But
Support the casino or?
no, oppose the casino if it has impact on us. I don't know if we want to spend that kind of resources trying to determine that.
To just make a decision. So I don't know the answer, right? I haven't read it. I haven't done much research on it myself. Just the question came up, and so I said, let me see what everybody else's opinion is on it. I haven't dug into it, but there may be some legislation going down.
I think if it becomes a question for us to make a decision on, there are ways that we can show our support for or against that when it comes to our front door without it being in our legislative agenda. I think we can move forward with what we have, with the things that we are clear on and that are important to us in this moment. And we don't have to hold it up or put something in our agenda that we are not clear on or we're not comfortable with. And when the question of Tyson's Corner or that item becomes a topic for us to discuss and we have more information to make a decision on, we can then decide how we want to support it. And then we can take steps or measures to support it or go against it in that moment. And it doesn't have to be a part of our agenda.
All right, so Madam Town Manager, do you want a verbal yes or no, or do you want us to make a motion here on this?
I would like y'all to make a motion to approve the resolution with the proposed changes where y'all have identified the staff that y'all would like to go up there to advocate for the town so that I can move this on to our delegate and our senator so they can draft the necessary legislation on behalf of the town, sir.
Now, let me ask, because you had on one of your slides, are we gonna have some type of social, what we've had in the past where we've kind of socialized this with our legislators? I know it's pretty late in the game.
So what I intended on doing, I didn't intend on a social, but what I intend on doing is drafting a letter and going down there to physically meet with them to explain what the town's position is on these things. So if y'all would like a social, we can schedule or have one, but that was not part of what I intended on doing. I intended on going, meeting with them in their office, explaining what these things mean for our town, and then moving forward that way. I have been informed that pre-filing is on from November 20th through December 29th. Our delegate will take 2 pieces of legislation in addition to our charter, but she has asked for me to send everything in case she has someone else that can move the other item forward for us. And there was another question that was posed to me by one of the council members, is whether or not it needed to be unanimously approved by the council, and the answer was no, it just needs to be approved by the council. So that was the level of effort I had achieved over this last couple of weeks, sir.
All right. All right, seeing no further discussion, Chair Pro Tem? Oh, okay, but you have one. All right. I make a motion that we adopt the legislative addenda with the town attorney as our representative to lobby on our behalf. I mean, not lobby. What's the language?
Representative.
To work in tandem with the lobbyists.
I second.
Okay. All right, it's been motion second. Any further discussion?
Do you only want the town attorney and the lobbyists, or do y'all want me to have some involvement in it? I want to
No.
make sure that y'all think candy with this role, that y'all stay with that individual. I'm just asking.
Yeah. Do we need to say staff?
I mean, in town staff, I mean, we don't, there's never no limit to the amount of people that go down and lobby.
But if we say town attorney, then we limit. So we
Okay, so let's just say town staff. So I will, huh?
With the broad reference to town staff, it could apply to anyone who's employed by the town. So if you're designating someone to speak and answer questions on behalf of the town, they should be identified if you can identify them. Just so that on the back end of this, there won't be any additional confusion.
All right. I'm gonna withdraw and restate. You withdraw your second?
I withdraw my second.
Okay. Now I will restate the motion. I motion to adopt the legislative agenda with the support. I'm sorry, the resolution. Okay, to adopt the resolution for the legislative agenda to include the staff involvement of our town manager and our town attorney.
I second.
All right. Any discussion? It's been properly motioned and second. Is there any further discussion? All right, seeing done, Madam Clerk, please call for the question.
Councilman Peterson. Aye. Councilman Fields.
Yes.
Councilman Brown.
Aye.
Chairperson Miles.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Wood.
Yes.
That motion has passed. Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
All right, it's been motioned and second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Okay. Vice Mayor? No discussion? All right, very well. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call for the question.
Councilmember Peterson. Aye. Councilmember Fields.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Chair Pro Tem Miles. Aye. Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Wood.
Yes.
The motion is passed.
All right, we've now exhausted our agenda, so at this time, this meeting is adjourned.
Mhm.